AmaZulu King MisuZulu Zwelithini has called a special meeting of amaKhosi to discuss the future of the Ingonyama Trust. Now, the trust was established in 1994 to manage land owned by the government of KwaZulu-Natal. Its sole trustee is the king, who owns just under 30% of the land in KZN. Let's unpack the story further this afternoon. We're joined now by Traditional Affairs commentator, Professor Musa Xulu. Prof, it's always a great pleasure talking to you. Thanks very much for giving us some of your time. Tell us about where we are at insofar as the Ingonyama Trust is, Prof.
Well, you have given a good background of how it was formed. That land, as you rightly said, but I must say is owned by a national government, because all land affairs, they rest with the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development and Land Reform, Mrs. Tokotidiza at the moment. Mm-hmm. Where we are, Ingonyama Trust was formed under very interesting and very controversial circumstances, because that land had been farmed out by government to the Bantustan government of KwaZulu homeland. Mm. And after the elections of 1994, all those lands that were in the homelands were going to return back to Pretoria, to central government. So Buthelezi, the late prince, brokered a deal with the Nationalist Party government that this land be retained in the form of a trust for the benefit of the rural communities in the form of customary way of land management, which is communal also in some way. Then legislation was passed by the KwaZulu Homeland Government and was amended in 1997 for it to be in line with national legislation in terms of land reform. And therefore, it remains a government entity. It's listed on the Schedule 3 of the Public Finance Management Act, PFMA. But all the time, if there are going to be elections, the drama around the Ingonyama Trust gets started somehow. There is an unfortunate situation. Let me start with the positive. It's good that the king is meeting with amaKhosi for the first time since he became king in 2021. He has never done that before. But the content of the meeting is a created kind of situation that says that there's a problem, Ingonyama Trust is under threat, and you hear that all the time, because national government or the parliament wants the king to come down to legislature in Cape Town to account as chairperson of the trust, and possibly he does not want to do that, and so they feel undermined. Right. And then, yeah. So you'll have all of those things, but you must, at the back of your mind, always have elections next week.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Every single story we're looking at now, right, is through the lens of this all-important election. The Ingonyama Trust has also been in the news for various reasons over the past few weeks, I would say. For one, there's been accusations that the king has been using funds from the trust for his personal needs. I'm not sure how far that case got.
Well, there has been that. Last time I hear was that the National Minister of Land Affairs, Mr. Tokotidiza, was looking into the matter with maybe a thought of launching an investigation into it. Because when you're a trustee, you are not entitled to the funds of the entity of which you are a trustee, except for the out-of-pocket funds. So if it happened, as now everybody says it happened, it could be a very clear case of financial mismanagement, which would be unfortunate. Yeah,
the king, I should say, has denied the allegation, but I've got the king's press statement here insofar as this meeting with amaKhosi is concerned, and he says the meeting comes at a time when there are serious threats to the survival of the Ingonyama Trust, amid continued efforts to take away the land under control of amaKhosi, who hold this land in trust on behalf of the Zulu people. Is that a fair statement, Prof?
No, it's not. But as I said, I must take you back a little bit. A couple of months ago, he appointed Thulasizwe Buthelezi as his prime minister. Right. Traditional prime minister. And Thulasizwe Buthelezi is a high-ranking member of the IFP. What is happening here is an attempt to mobilize amaKhosi for a possible loss of elections next week, maybe also to create a kind of situation where people will feel that maybe let us vote for the IFP so we can retain the land, because the ANC government is about to take the land away. It's very far from the truth. There has never been such an indication. In fact, the last time I spoke with the minister, she said it looks like a very good model, but it needs to be crafted in a certain way that it is aligned to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights.
So the meeting is being pinned as a meeting that's needed to protect the rights of the Zulu people. You're saying the motive is completely different.
No, the motive is political. The IFP always does this when they go to elections. They create a story. It's a typical late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi is the political way of conducting politics, where if you feel like you are about to lose, you then create attention to yourself, create some chaos, and make people stop talking about the real issues and focus on the possibilities of violence in KZN. It's not a nice thing, because it happened exactly the same way in 1994, where amaKhosi were mobilized into meetings and rural communities were marching for the king then and for Ingonyama Trust and so on, and many people got killed in the process.
Yeah, if it is indeed a tactic, as you say, Prof, it's a dangerous tactic, given especially the history of violence in KwaZulu-Natal.
No, definitely. It's extremely problematic. The issue is that Zulus have been taken by maybe political leaders of KwaZulu-Natal generally as being very ethnic and tribalistic. But what we are noting now is that as they become more and more educated and more South Africanized, the Zulus are generally moving away from the politics of tribalism. But when you raise the issue of land, that your land is about to be taken away and so on, you may gain 1 or 2 votes there, and even make some of amaKhosi who are aligned to the IFP to be angry and mobilize communities and make even voting in their wards and their areas very difficult for those who don't toe the line.
Yeah.
It happened many times in the elections before.
Yeah, it's incredibly worrying to say the least. Yeah. Would the king be aware of this kind of motive, Prof? Well,
during October last year, after the passing on of Chief Mangosuthu Buthelezi, the king made a statement when he had a meeting with IFP leaders in Ulundi. Same meeting like you'll have on Thursday. He said he endorses the IFP. So he endorses the IFP. So he knows. I don't think he is not aware that he's being used for political gains. But maybe he thinks that it's a good thing so that he can be seen to be doing something, because for the past couple of months, he's been really doing nothing at all. But I think here, following his appointment of a high-ranking member of the IFP as his traditional prime minister, it all comes together so well. He is being used for the elections that are taking place next week, and the IFP is preparing for a possible scenario where they will lose the elections, and therefore the amaKhosi and rural communities and hostile people must maybe even become violent.
Yeah, and the very people you talk about, the voting population in those areas, will be none the wiser.
Yeah, but it's much better now, as I said, than it was in 1994 or 2009 or 1999 and so on. But there is, in places like Nongoma, Mahlabathini, Zulu district, Greytown and so on, there is still a lot of intimidation of voters by some traditional leaders. So it could be possible that you'll find that in places like Nkandla, for example, some voters may be intimidated into towing the line of what their Inkosi says following the meeting of Thursday. It's very clear the program there, what it is going to be, is going to be the elections of next week and the possibility of losing in the votes and not being able to capture KwaZulu-Natal.
Yeah. Very interesting indeed. Professor Musa, great pleasure talking to you on this Tuesday afternoon. And it's all in the build-up to the AmaZulu King calling this special meeting of amaKhosi to discuss, he says, the future of the Ingonyama Trust.